Now, there's this narrative that's typically shared by like a lot of older men at times, and men from a different generation, where they say just get the money and the women will follow. And I think a lot of men who took that advice in this day and age, they're in a very tough position, because the social contract theory around sex has changed. Like, just providing for a woman is no longer a sufficient amount of investment in order to have your sexual needs met on the consistency or to the intensity, the variety, or the quality that you desire, outside of having an exorbitant amount of money. And even in those instances, if a woman is just engaging in acts with you because of the amount of money that you have, if she did not like how that went, she can turn around and flip it around and feel like you manipulated her with your power, or that you took advantage of her lack of resources, and feel like she was coerced or pressured into something that she didn't really want to do, right? And I think it's very important to understand that anything that you trade for sex can eventually be used against you. And I feel like if you don't understand that as a man, you're setting yourself up for failure. And it can really be anything, right? But it's more so a matter of saying, you want to make sure that the woman that you're dealing with intrinsically sexually desires you. Now, if a little bit of your mouthpiece, your game is what does it, that takes her over the fence, and you just know how to follow through with the skills behind it, your sexual energy, how you make her body feel, how you tap into the psychology of her submissiveness, her sexual shadow, it's like, all right, cool, that's dope. That may not be 100% just she looks at you and it's intrinsic, but sexual attraction is a lot more than just looks. So you don't want to get overly caught up in that either. You do want to make sure your presentation is decent. You want to make sure it's good, and it's still a leg up over the competition. But you can have all the symbols in the world, but without the substance, all the woman has to do is spend a little bit of time with you and realize that you're not who it seems like you're portraying yourself to be. So, you want to have both. But if you have to choose between the symbols and the substance of masculinity or dominance, I choose the substance, right? Because if you have the substance of masculinity and have the substance of dominance within you and how you carry yourself, then oftentimes you will still have the ambition to pursue your goals, but you have to orientate yourself to not view how attractive a woman is, having sex with women, having high quality women as the reason that and your motivation for wanting to pursue success and wanting to pursue getting to a financially astute place in your life, right? And I'm speaking from this from the perspective of having a good bit of time, just being a college student, you know what I mean, being in university, and understanding that, yes, oftentimes universities can be like shooting fish on a barrel, but most of the time I wasn't even dealing with women who are going to my college. Or sometimes it'd be women who already graduated, or grown-ass women, or it'd be women who, might be some women who went to school with me from time to time, or women who went to other schools, that may have had different cultures. Sometimes it may have been even all-girl schools. In my experience, I think it's important to dismiss this mindset of get the money and the women will follow in this day and age. It's like trying to use reverse psychology, right? Saying, well, if you tell yourself you don't want the pussy, then you do something else, then the women will come and do that. But then you got to recognize that you're being transactional about sex. And then some dudes push this bullshit and they say, oh, pussy always has a cost. You're paying for gas, you're paying for dinner, you're paying for dates, you're paying for bills. You might as well just buy the pussy. That is a tricks mentality. It's some real devilish type of flip type of knowledge. Because on some real shit, if your sex game is strong, your sexual energy is tight, your mouthpiece is tight, then a woman is paying you, right? A woman is paying you. And sometimes, and she's investing in you financially, emotionally, socially, all these different things. And I'm not saying that you should take advantage of that to the point where you are using or being abusive to a woman or abusing that power, but take that power and help yourself get up a little bit better. Don't overly rely on a woman to do the things you need to do for your purpose, for your vision. But if there are opportunities where a woman wants to show that she's dedicated to you and appreciates you, and part of her respect for you is you have to give her some assignments and some tasks that she can carry out so that she knows how to show you that she appreciates you, so that she has a way of expressing her submissiveness to you, then you can give a woman tasks and different things to do that will benefit her, but it also benefit you in the direction you're trying to go into, even career-wise. You understand what I'm saying? I think that's a very important concept to really grasp and to really understand. Like, if you own some real shit with how you move, and some people say it's a certain age group who does this, but I know men who are even older than me who do this, who are much older than me. Now, I'll say this. One thing about this mindset that I'm talking about is that this is best for years where you're dealing with women and you can connect with women who don't have super high financial expectations yet, right? Because sometimes as a woman gets older, she'll still be down for it, but it'll be harder for her to respect a man in that position, right? But there are some women where they understand that if they want the best bang for their buck that they're going to get out of a man, then it makes more sense for them to say, okay, cool. Am I attracted to him? Is the dick good? Do I respect him? Do I feel like he's a good person? Is he honest? All right. Then I see some aspects of ambition in him and his desire to grow. So she's already is happy dealing with you just for who you are as a man, but knows that with a man with a mindset like you'll never stay broke, right? You'll never stay broke. It's not going to happen. Like, one man may have just been gifted and just gifted with money because of his family at a certain age, but he may lose that money. He may burn the bridge and his family to stop fucking with him, right? These are things that can happen. But when you're a man who has drive and ambition within yourself and you have purpose, you have certain priorities, then it works that way. But one thing I will say is this. In order to truly have a mindset of putting your purpose first, your purpose needs to be somewhat based on intrinsic motivation, intrinsic purposes, right? Because even if you're purpose based, but that's simply a coping mechanism for the fact that you can't get no pussy, then ultimately pussy is still what's running your life. Understand that. Ultimately, pussy is still what's running your life. If you have the ability, the skills, the mouthpiece, the sex appeal, the masculine sex appeal, the game to get women on your standard of attractive and on your standard of how they treat you, and to deal with those women in a way to where they're feminine, submissive with you, right? Then you have to have intrinsic motivation to pursue your goals. You have to have intrinsic motivation to deal with the woman in a somewhat healthy way. You have to have a program. You have to have principles. You have to have standards. Because if you don't, then you may abuse that power, burn a woman out, and then now she's feeling all fucked up, and you just missed out on a situation with a good woman because you couldn't control your ego. You couldn't control your need for validation. You get what I'm saying? And it's one of those things that we got to understand this right here. You want to be logical, but you're never going to truly 100% escape any desire for external validation. But you can mitigate it, and you can fashion it to where someone's not in a position where they can do it unless they're already doing the things that you like from them, right? But I know that external validation is a hot point that some people that act like, oh, it's either 100% bad. Most people have that narrative these days, and I think a lot of that is just like thinking you're escaping the ego through your ego lying to you and making you think that your ego isn't still what's making you decide what decisions that you make. You can add some logic into it. You can try to integrate your ego to make sure that your ego includes things that will actually be necessary, but still things that stroke your ego and things that you desire, right? That's having a healthier ego, an integrated ego. But at the same time, you still have one, right? You still have certain things that you want to feel. You still have certain ways that you want the person that you're interacting with to feel about you. Because there are things that occur due to the way that they feel about you. Like, if you deal with enough women, or if you deal with a woman for a long enough period of time, one thing you start to understand is this. A woman who is in a particular mind state, like how she feels about you sexually in a particular moment, can change the way in which she responds and reacts to you non-sexually as well, right? Because there's a certain respect factor. If a woman feels like she has something that you want that she doesn't want to give you, she loses respect for you because you're willing to be around her without getting what you want, right? And that's one aspect of sex and the gender war and all these other things that it often isn't talked about. People don't talk about the sexual aspect of what it really means to be compatible within a relationship enough in these conversations about the gender war. all people do is like do sign language and judging women's body counts, or saying, well, I don't want to be with any woman in a long-term relationship at all. That's just the game. Or these women will be like, oh, all these men wanted sex, yada, yada, yada. Or if all he wants is sex, that's all he gonna get. So I'm gonna just fuck the nigga, yada, yada, yada. I'm fucking all these niggas. That's how it is sometimes, But I think an important part to understand is the concept of overstimulation, as well as the concept of sexual integration, and just understanding that as you have experiences, your sexual palate grows and it raises. And once your sexual palate grows beyond what you have the ability to teach or attract and still get the other things that you want out of a relationship, you are overstimulated. And with overstimulation comes entitlement, right? If whatever I like sexually, I can teach to a woman I'm dealing with, then there's nothing entitled about it. If I approach a woman upfront about my sexual intentions, and she's feeling me on that level, then there's nothing entitled about me wanting to fuck her off the rip. And I may even make her work for the dick first. Like, I don't even really have sex with women unless they've been sucking dick first. Like, that's just a personal thing for me with my mentality, my mindset. But if I'm not desirable enough to the women I talk to do that, then it's not gonna work, right? I'm just gonna get, dismissed. And then eventually you might get a bad reputation. And then that bad reputation may fuck things up for you even more. It may even fuck things up for you on a business side. So I just think it is important to understand that you have to be desirable. So you have to have a certain level of self-awareness and realism with yourself about what it is that you want and what you deserve. And what you deserve is really based off of what you have the ability to attract. And still get the other things that you want in the overall package. Now, I remember I saw this video, right? It was this video by Josh Johnson. I think I might put it on the intro. Putting it on the intro is what I might very well do. The video by Josh Johnson, right, is the comedian. He said that women have these big, exorbitant lists of all these things that they want out of a man, right? Big, exorbitant, long-winded lists of all these things that they want their man to be. That's some bullshit, right? Right? And I'm gonna keep it a buck. He said, listen, take that list. If you need to, cut it up, rip it up, burn it, throw it away, whatever you gotta do. But there are only 3 things you can ask of a man. Only 3 things you can require of a man. Pick 2. Pick 2 that you can live with. And if up front he seems like a 3, run away. And I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, because oftentimes that full package at the door type of thing is simply love bombing from an individual, right? A lot of times it's love bombing. Like, I don't necessarily agree with leading with the full package when it comes to dating and relationships, right? Some people do. Some people maybe have so much life experience that they can kind of just tell a person has good character and they go for it. But in a lot of instances, people end up taking advantage of or feeling taken advantage of, or their palate gets raised, sexually, emotionally, financially, to the point where this person establishes a new standard within them that person never had any intentions of being the full package to them. So now you've developed a Mr. Perfect or a Mrs. Perfect mentality about how you view dating relationships, not understanding that oftentimes, unless you're on point, the positives that you experience with someone are going to heavily correlate to the negatives. And if you amalgamate all of the best and worst experiences that you've had and take all of the best out of all the people you've dealt with and then establish a perfect person in your mindset, you are probably entitled. You are fucking up, right? And if you don't understand that that's what you're doing, you're putting yourself into a perspective where now you are entitled and you're going to be alone. Because either you're going to be alone or you're going to settle. Certain things are about shifting your standards, right? Now, in order to shift your standards, oftentimes there's going to be a certain level of overstimulation that comes along with it. Not overstimulation like, oh, you fucked up, you ruined, but it's more so somebody takes you in one area further than you've ever been before, or at least shows you what it feels like to intrinsically desire dealing with them on that level, right? To where you don't feel as pressed about the other things, but they still have the ability to follow through on those, or you can take care of those things for yourself. Because in a relationship, 1 in 3 people is going to take care of something, right? It's going to be, if you have a need, something that you can't really just talk your way out of, but something you really need or something you really desire, it's going to be taken care of by 1 in 3 people, you, them, or someone else. If those things you need are things that need to be outsourced and you can't be honest about that, you're incompatible, right? Because there's the outsourcing game, but really what I'm really breaking down is the science and the psychology of how you as a broke man can get good quality women, right? Now the quality goes up with the better you get at running this game, because the truth is this: while a lot of men may use the idea of success to motivate themselves to get women, right, and that gives them confidence, a lot of times they lack the sexual confidence in and of themselves and confidence in who they are, their vision as a man. So for them, oftentimes it leads to some bullshit, right? And the bullshit it can often lead to is, let's say that man is dating women who are basically dealing with him because of the things he has, and not because she's actually attracted to him or the things he actually has to offer, right? She's thinking about what she's logically and pragmatically is going to get out of it. That's all turns into the gold diggers or the acculturated prostitution. And what we need to understand within these mindsets is that if a woman is overly pragmatic and overly logical about what she wants out of the situation, then, you know, she's overly practical or overly pragmatic about what she wants out of the situation dealing with you, then she's probably not a woman you can trust. Unless those areas that she's being pragmatic about, you have the ability to be open and honest and accept the fact that she's going to need to outsource those things to someone else at some point in time, right? So that means if you say, okay, all I want is an emotional connection and someone who I can build a business and a family with and legacy for the future, and y'all are not sexually compatible, then understand that she may be transactional with you about the pussy, but eventually she's going to want some dick that's free. She's going to want to give some pussy for free to somebody who she really desires. And if your ego can't handle that, then it's going to sabotage the relationship dynamic because you're going to have an inability to really honestly communicate what roles you're playing within the relationship. Right? There's something to understand. I think another point to bring up is this: is like when it comes to these relationship dynamics, a man often wants a woman who was there with him before he had it. Like a lot of men are afraid of marriage because they've built so much stuff on their own, and they're dealing with a woman in somewhat of a transactional way, that long-term transaction isn't a good idea because it just motivates the woman. She's doing a bunch of shit she don't want to do, and then when she crosses that 10-year mark, depending on which state you're living in, she could just divorce you and take your shit, because if she can get what it is that you're giving without having to give what it is that she wants out of it, that's the bait and switch. If she can do that, then why wouldn't she do it? If she decides she don't like your ass no more, right? But if this is a woman who sexually desires you, she respects you as a man, she values you, she sees your vision, then along that process, you can simply put her ass to work. And whatever you're doing, if she wants to be your wife, you can set a standard and you can put her in a position where she's putting in work to show you that she deserves the position of being your wife. She's earning the position of wife. So that means that even if y'all get married and one day y'all get divorced, once she's invested, so it's going to be more difficult for her to walk away than simply if you're invested in everything you're doing, you're the one who's invested. So when it comes time to walk away, she's not thinking about what she's going to lose and the sunk cost of the matter outside of her time. She might be thinking, I need to maximize my time to find another nigga who I actually want. But if she's actually invested in you and respects you as a man, then she's going to think about that investment when she starts thinking about walking away. So you put her to work. Now, if the option of, like, let's say you get married and the option of divorce comes up, guess what? She deserves the alimony or whatever it is she may get out of the divorce because she's worked for that shit. Stop marrying women who don't deserve marriage. Stop marrying women who haven't done shit to show that they actually deserve being in a position of being your wife, just because you think that having some money entitles you to an attractive woman, and then you two are not even sexually compatible like that, right? And then act like these women are hoes and thoughts and shit like that when they go out and get them some outside dick. One thing I say is this: you got to accept one of two things. Either you got to be that nigga or let her fuck that nigga in peace. So what I'm really putting niggas on game about is just the mindset behind how you can get women as a broke man. Because men have always done it. Men have always done it. And you can also get respect as well. But you also have to understand that it isn't an unlimited amount of time that you ain't doing shit. Like, you got to be doing something. Even if what you're doing isn't making the most money yet, you got to show that you have a passion, a purpose, something you're consistent with, something that you're dedicated to, something that you either believe will generate a lot of money or generate a lot of help and service and add value to people's lives, right? Even if you're not making the most amount of money in the world, if you are adding value to people's lives with your purpose, then a woman will oftentimes still look up to and respect that, right? Understand that. And the type of woman who's more focused on the dollar sign is not really the woman you want to be with anyways. But when you understand and you get yourself to a place where you can implement prize game, right? Which is, and prize game is different than some people might think, right? Well, how I view prize game. You know, because for me, prize game is not so much about saying I'm the prize because I have the money. Being the prize is about the person intrinsically desiring to do the things that you want to do. Because if you think you're a prize just because you have the money, you might just be a target. You might just be a lick, right? It's not automatic. You can have both. But most women ain't gonna find both, right? Most women kind of got to pick and choose which aspects of a man they want the most. And typically you can have one area and then try to work towards another. And some things are harder to work towards after the fact than others. And one of those things that can happen at times is the sexual aspect. Because for a lot of women, how much you require of them sexually before you commit to them is pretty much how much they feel is the requirement in order to maintain you. So if what you may view as trying to turn her up sexually or trying to awaken the situation or trying to improve your compatibility with her, she may feel like that is requiring more energy and effort from her than she bargained for, which can turn her off and feel like sex is pressure. Even if you're doing most of the work and she's getting most of the pleasure out of it. Even if she's a lazy fuck, right? Even if she a starfish, right? Or what do you call that? A dead fish? A pillow princess? Even if she's one of those, she may feel the same way. Like all this extra freaky shit that you want to do is adding pressure to her. But you're already financially invested. You're already emotionally invested. You're already socially invested. You've already given your word about wanting to be in a relationship with her. So now you kind of got to go through this bullshit, right? We got to go through the bullshit now. So what I'm really telling you is you don't need money to get a woman, right? It helps, but it mostly helps in the facet that you're able to take care of yourself in certain capacities, right? That's really what it does. As long as you're able to take care of yourself in certain capacities, hold your own, then as long as you're a little bit above average in your ability to put your sexual energy out there, to have your mouthpiece on point, to stand on your word and be honest as a man, and understand that dick ain't 100% free, then you're good. But the thing is this, the better it is, the more dick ain't free, right? The more power you have over a woman, she can get to a place, and I call that the 9 level of sexual attraction, where the investment that she's making, it increases how much pleasure she's experiencing. That's like around a 9 to 10 level. Now, a lot of women, they do have a subconscious fear, right? So understand that when you're moving this particular way, some women have this unconscious fear of being alpha widowed, which is to be digmatized by a man who will never be anything more than just sex to them. Really, because a lot of women who are overstimulated or who are ruined right now, that's what it is. And it's like, who are they ruined for? Well, any man who doesn't have the ability to take her further than the man who took her there. And if the aspects of how she was taken there were things that disrespected and crossed her boundaries, or it was toxic, then a man who has a certain level of social conditioning or social programming, or who relies on honest communication and being direct, sometimes he may, unless she desires him enough off the rip, he may lack the ability to take her as far as another man who didn't worry about respecting her boundaries. That's the toxic dick, right? A man who she was willing to break all the rules for, right? Like I always say, rules are made for some and broken for others. That's a song that's going to be coming out with me and Lace the Hands before too long, right? But then there's another thing where it's like, if she says, I don't do that, the for you is in parentheses. Stop conflating a woman not doing the shit you want to do as her morals and start looking at it as she's not that interested. Right? Like on some real shit. Because a woman who's trying to run prize game on you is going to look at it that way. She's going to look at it like, well, sex is not a guarantee. No matter how you slice it, I got to get to know you first. I got to do all this. We got to go on some dates. We got to get to know each other. We got to be in a relationship. We got to be married. I'm celibate. All this extra shit. This prize game. But it's oftentimes not a real prize on the other side of it. So, one, she's not truly using her non-sexual value to draw you in. Like, she may not really be spending her own money, having great conversation, having the capacity of sexual attraction to you to meet your needs once you meet her standards. She may not have the ability to, she may not have the money to be paying for dates herself, to show you that she desires you non-sexually. And then to allow the opportunity to open up to where you get to a certain place, right? She may not. Because most women don't have a program. A lot of men don't have a program either. So when she's saying, well, yeah, I got like 3 kids and I'm celibate now. When I was celibate in between each of these kids, and each of these kids between I was celibate with, I was dating a guy who was kind of like you, but every time I got pregnant, it was either by the same man or a bunch of different niggas who wasn't shit. And I want to love myself more and respect myself more and know my worth and know my value. And then now she's taking a state of mind where she wants to punish you by making you do more for something that she's giving away for so much less. You get what I'm saying? And that's why it's important not to be easy as a man. That's why sex shouldn't be enough for you to want to jump into a relationship, because that makes you easy. Like, if you are a man who's dealing with multiple women and a woman feels like her sex is what made you want to date her, why would she feel comfortable with you dealing with multiple women if you could just come across another woman who got some better pussy or some better head, and then now that's your focus? You got to think about this shit. You got to think about it. But you got to look at the sexual polarity quadrant, right? Masculine dominance is prize game. There's a difference between using the idea of something transactional as a reward versus allowing someone to deal with you on a basis of intrinsically desiring to do what you want to do, making that the most enjoyable experience for them possible, and then allowing them the opportunity to develop the desire to do those other things that you also that they want to do, and making sure you only allow a person to do all that extra shit if you could open yourself up to the idea of also doing that with them. That's prize game, right? But some people just do a carrot with a stick. It's like if the woman don't even like sex with you like that, she don't even enjoy it like that, but you want to use the idea of the resources she might get out of you to get her to eventually be in a relationship or a marriage. Like, understanding this psychology, understanding this mentality. This is how you can find a woman who values you, right? That you're compatible with, right? Without doing that in a way that hurts your ability to be compatible in the long term. Right? It's like, how to get women as a broke man. Some men say, don't do it. Your dick shouldn't even get hard if you broke. It's like, why is your sexual confidence attached to your dick? I mean, why is your sexual confidence attached to your pocket? What if you lose your job? You got a job, you get laid off. You've been there for like 10 years. Some shit goes down, the economy changes, the industry changes. Now they're switching to automotive. Now, boom, you're laid off. And you got to make a way. Let me go back to the 3 points. Good dick, good person, got your shit together. If you ain't even got no good dick and now you ain't got no money, now you're just the one. That woman's going to have to be extremely desperate or extremely in love with you in order to be willing to deal with you for that period of time. But that can't be a forever thing if you're just the one. Right? And I emphasize being honest with women, right? You know, honesty, when a woman respects that from you and she deals with you on that basis, that she has no choice but to see you as somewhat of a good person. Now, some women, if they have a gentleman gigolo complex, they view being a good person as being a monogamy-oriented man who is willing to invest an exorbitant amount of time, energy, or resources without expecting sex in return. Right? Now, there are some men like that. There are some. But the woman has to have the ability to draw that out of the man that she's dealing with. She's expecting a man to just come to her like that when all she's really putting out there is why she's sexually desirable. All she's doing is posting pictures that make her sexually appealing, or making posts that make her sexually appealing, or dressing in a way where all you know about her is that she's attractive. You may not even see her in a place where she can mentally stimulate you. And I'm talking to the men who are the feminine submissive, right? Because it's not about the gender norms or the gender roles. I'm really talking about the motivational system, how the validation works and how the relationship works. And I think that most women are feminine and desire to be submissive at their core. They have a higher capacity for submissiveness. So with that type of woman, even if she plays the masculine dominant role, maybe y'all could still integrate if that happens quick enough. But in a lot of instances, she's not going to truly respect you or not truly desire you if she doesn't view you as a masculine man or a dominant man, especially if she's overstimulated. And a lot of guys who are seeking out traditional women are seeking out women who are ready for acculturated prostitution over a long-term basis, with also the things that they take part in. And what you have to understand with the masculine submissive type of woman is that her sex is going to be extremely connected to her social battery. So that means that if you're not, if you really want a woman to be like that, then you should probably have the money to have that woman to pay for somebody to do the cooking and cleaning that she don't really want to do, because she wants to be a trophy wife. Since you're really down with acculturated prostitution, right? But a feminine submissive woman, like, if she's doing a lot, then the sex is something that is an escape. It's an oasis. It's a safe space away from her otherwise responsibilities. So in her mind, she's enjoying that for the sake of enjoying it. It's something that she desires. And from that place of desire, the other things that she invests, if she knows she enjoys and desires it so much to the point it becomes like a leisure or a luxury that she knows she wants to have access to, so she's willing to make sure that she's investing to maintain access to you, even on a sexual level. And I'm not saying sex is everything, or that's the only thing that a woman should want you for as a man, but best believe that you will always benefit more if that's part of why a woman wants you, if that's part of her priorities when it comes to what she thinks about when she thinks about you. Unless a woman's mindset is heavily religiously repressed and sexually repressed, there's not really a lot of instances where that's going to negatively affect the dynamic for a woman who truly desires and is feminine submissive at her core, who isn't damaged. You get what I'm saying? Because I know I hear old heads say all the time, you lose your job, you lose your woman. Man, I've never lost a woman on account of losing a job. I haven't lost a lot of jobs either. But as far as losing a woman because I lost a job, I haven't been in that situation. Or having women dealing with me on a basis of because of how much money I spent on them. I've never been in that type of situation because I don't lead with that. You know what I mean? And some of it was because I was younger. In school. Not really working like that. Not out working the streets. Not like that. So for me, it's like I just work my little job here and there. Go to school. Work on my purpose. You know, so I got my job. Got my side hustles. You building up. Not taking too many shortcuts with that. And building up your platform. Building up your clientele. Building up your fan base. While maybe also going to school. Building up your knowledge base. Making sure that you know how to teach things. And developing your skills. And a lot of times it's better if you're able to do that younger, but sometimes people aren't taught and led by their parents to be in that position. Or your parents didn't have the money to like put you in karate lessons when you were younger, or get you music lessons when you were younger, right? And maybe you weren't super social, so you weren't out there, you know what I mean? And these sound like excuses, but these are just real explanations of how things happen. Because if you still meet your goals later on, then there must have been a reason why you didn't do it sooner. But in that time of just being a college student, or, you know what I mean, just doing my thing, I realized that women can desire a man for different things than just how much money he's spending on them. Like, I've never taken a woman out on a date because I wanted to have sex. Now, I take a woman out on a date because I just genuinely wanted to get to know her. But that was years ago, you know what I mean? 9 out of 10, if I'm going out with a woman, it's because we're already fucking. You get what I'm saying? We're already fucking, we're compatible. I like the way she carries herself in public. You know, she shows that she's somebody who likes to reciprocate. So I want to spend my time with her. Because I already know we're going to enjoy our time together. And there's going to be a lot of people that if you have this mentality, they're going to say, well, what about the non-sexual things? Everything's about sex. Man, I wish them people would shut the fuck up. Because they obviously don't know what they're talking about. There are plenty of people who are married today who started off as fuck buddies. And a lot of the people I know who are the happiest in their marriage, they say a big factor in that is sex. Men and women. The fact that they were able to maintain that dynamic and not let the issues in their relationship negatively affect their sex life made it easier to sustain their bonded connection over a longer period of time. Even if they was a little bit tired, they still found a way to do it. Even if they were having little issues or disagreements, they still desired each other enough to go there and to bond together long enough to correct the issues. Because it's not about, you know, because sex is a band-aid, but it's not a bad thing. You know, it's not about using sex to solve issues. It's about using sex to strengthen your connection so that you can solve the issues from a better place of polarity. Right? But let's say you're a man and you have issues with a woman and y'all are trying to solve something. And when you're trying to solve something, her sex drive just completely goes off to you. That means she's having sex with you for the sake of emotional, social, or financial investment or validation. So that means that the sex is transactional, which then can make you feel not desired as a man, which then makes you not feel as open to communicate, or then makes you feel like you are submitting yourself to her and bending on your word and what you want to do and how you want to move as a man just for some pussy. And then a woman loses further respect for you as you do that, because she has the ability to go on pussy strike with you, right? These are the things that you want to be able to avoid as a man and set your relationships in a way, set your relationships up in a way where it doesn't work that way, where a woman understands these things. But you can't just expect that, oh, well, she knows how to communicate, it won't be that way. No. The women who do that the most are the women who talk about the importance of communication. Because they may want to use communication as emotional validation that is transactional for you having access to her sexually. Right? Understand that. That leads to a power struggle and a constant cycle of emotional validation for social validation, or emotional validation for sexual validation. And then eventually you get hip to the game. You start pulling away emotionally if she's not being sexually available to you. Eventually that might start feeling abusive to a woman, right? Eventually it might start feeling like pressure, because she might get a quick jump. And I'm not saying that's 100% bad 100% of the time. Like, people have a bad thing about external validation, but I think something to understand is that yes, there's the love, yes, there's the communication, yes, there's the desire to just to be with you and to do what it is you want to do and to want to do the same thing, but there's masculine feminine dynamics and there's dom sub dynamics, right? And a woman should want to do the things that you want to do, but if the intrinsic desire isn't there and certain things that you can't bend on, the relationship is really only going to last if she wants you more than she wants to do things her own way, which means that she's feminine towards you. Which means that if she thinks about the idea of losing you, that gives her a little bit of anxiety. It gives her a little bit of a feeling of scarcity, a little bit of feeling like you're a scarce resource that she wants to keep around, right? And because of that, she wants to have access to you. So that gives her a little boost in the quality and the value of your validation, so that does more for her, right? So you do want to have a little bit of that dynamic in there. You don't want that to be the primary basis of all your interactions, because eventually that'll wear a woman's cup dry to the point where she just can't take it anymore. She gets disillusioned. She feels like it's too much pressure. She just can't handle it. You know what I mean? That's like a masculine submissive woman dealing with a masculine dominant man. That masculinity will clash against each other unless somebody gets in their feminine energy. So sometimes those games that a man is willing to play in order to maintain leverage with his woman is him getting into his feminine energy through feminine dominance. Right? That's the manipulation. That's the games. You know, that's the push and pull. You know, that's the bait and switch. But not all levels of a little bit of feminine dominance are wrong. You can use a bait and counter, and that doesn't go against who you are as a man. You might say something that's bold to a woman, and it might touch her a little bit of the wrong way. You know what I mean? And then she might want to get up in arms about it, but you already know how to dissipate and disarm her with being charming, with being seductive. Without bending on what it is you say or bending on what you say you want to do, she gets to the point where you draw out a shit test from her with how you communicate with her. And if she respects you enough or desires you enough, then boom, you flip it around on her. Now she desires your validation a little bit more. You created curiosity. You got her to think about you in a sexual way. Then boom, you can reconnect on that level. Or just connect on that level the first time. But I think it's very important to understand that you don't want to overly rely on reverse psychology when it comes to your sex life, right? Like if you meet a woman and you're always trying to use plausible deniability to get sex, like a woman be like, oh, I don't feel comfortable doing this. You're like, oh, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Now, there's a certain level of that is what I call strategic honesty. You can respect a woman's boundaries in a way that causes, like, let's say a woman is trying to put a sexual boundary in front of you, or you can feel it coming. And then you beat her to the punch and then give the impression that you're respecting her boundaries and don't really want the sex that bad. That's using reverse psychology, because she may have desired more emotional, social, or financial validation or investment in exchange for maintaining sexual access. Right? But once you give her that emotional validation and then you separate all the sexual validation, it calls her bluff on the fact that she does desire sex and she does desire sexual validation, and you make her feel sexually unwanted. See, that's the reverse psychology of respecting a woman's boundaries. She wants it more because she feels you're not pressed over it. But that becomes an issue in committed relationships, because over time she's going to grow accustomed to those tricks and ploys. Over time, that may begin to feel like pressure in certain situations where you give her plausible deniability, right? Or over time, you may realize that she isn't really receptive to you telling her exactly what the fuck you want to do directly and straightforwardly. Right? She may identify the different scenarios in which you want sex and be like, okay, cool, I don't really want to do it. So she might just start avoiding those things and taking outs and not taking the opportunities. Like, let's say you smoke weed. A woman knows every time you hit the blunt, you get horny. So let's say you go smoking and she avoids you afterwards because she knows you're going to be horny. A woman who's in her feminine submissive, who desires you intrinsically, she's going to be like, oh man, I know that dick is going to hit even better because he's high right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I get ready because I see him smoking, or I'm going to go ahead and roll it up for him. Or you know what? I want the fuck and I want that high dick right now. So I'm going to go ahead and roll it up for him. I'm going to go ahead and buy it myself. Show him I appreciate the things he does for me. And I'm going to make sure that this is the best experience for both of us that it can be. See, that's one thing that can happen when you're using prize game. Like, there have been times that I've dealt with women, and I'm not saying that's what I do now, but there's been times in my life where, let's say, I might be fucking with a woman, and while I'm dealing with her, she may, what she may do? She may recognize that every time I smoke, she get another round. So she might bring some with her every time she comes see me. Man, after a while, I damn near wouldn't have to get none for myself. Because dick wasn't free at that point. It was like, man, I know this is better. So it becomes an intrinsic thing to where the investment is not, well, I'm doing things for him because I want something out of it. It's more so, damn, I'm doing things for him because I know that this makes both of our experience more pleasurable, more exciting. I know when he feels like I respect him. I know when he feels like I'm invested. That makes him want to spend more time with me. I know that makes him want to do these different things, to get a little bit freakier for me, to get a little bit nastier, you know what I mean, to get into his bag for real. You know what I mean? I know that he gives me the even better dick when I'm doing the things to show him that I'm invested in him, right? And I think that understanding that aspect of things is a very powerful thing. Like, I call that concept that dick ain't free. You get what I'm saying? That's what I call it. But there's a lot of different things that go along with this, right? You know, you got to be honest about how you move. Oftentimes, it may be more of an under-promise, over-deliver, depending on how much a woman pre-qualifies on things that you can identify and see with her behavior. And that's real and that's understandable. You know what I mean? And there's going to be some women who only want dick from you. That's cool. That's cool. You know, that's what you wanted to do. You know, she decided she didn't want anything more. So you have to accept that comes with the game. What comes with the game is that there's going to be some women that you approach directly on a certain level, being honest about your intentions, who only want that. There's going to be some women who are able to get with it because they're attracted enough to you, but they also kind of are low-key doing it because they want a relationship right now. And then there's going to be some women who fuck with you, and then they deal with you, and they see who you are as a man and how you carry yourself, and then they come to decide, like, damn, this is the man I want to follow, this is the man I want to be with, I like the way he makes me feel, and then she's going to campaign for the position, right? And is it better for you to tailor your game to the women who don't, who may not desire you on a certain level, or to tailor your game to the women who do? Like, is it more important for her to meet standards outside of what she does for you and how she treats you? Or is it more important to set your standards on what she does for you and how she treats you? How much value she adds to your life, and just setting a standard about how attractive you have to be, and you're getting your game up and your confidence up to the point where you can deal with women who are on that level. Right? So I know a lot of this was some just sharing some game. I wasn't giving a whole lot of direct situations like that. I wasn't telling like the whole process of it, but I did want to break these things down and just explain the mindset behind how a broke man can get a submissive woman. This is Coach Brody. I'm out.